A woman in Ohio heard breathing coming from inside her closet at 2 a.m. She lived alone. She had been living alone for 3 years. But when police arrived and opened that closet door, they found a sleeping bag, empty water bottles, and a hole cut into the back wall leading to the crawl space. Someone had been living in her home for weeks, maybe longer, sleeping 10 feet away from her bed, watching her. She never knew. That's the thing about being home alone. We convince ourselves we're safe. We lock the doors, we check the windows, we turn off the lights and climb into bed. We tell ourselves that our home is our sanctuary, that nothing can get in. But what if something already has? In this video, I'm going to share 3 terrifying true stories from people who thought they were alone in their homes. The first involves a college student who started finding things moved around her apartment, only to discover the horrifying source. The second is about a man who received a phone call from someone who could see every move he made. But stay until the end, because the final story involves a woman who woke up in the middle of the night to find a stranger standing at the foot of her bed. And what happened next will stay with you long after this video ends. These are 3 true home alone horror stories. The woman who sent me this story was a college junior at the time. I'll call her Megan. She was 20 years old, living alone in a small 1-bedroom apartment about 10 minutes from campus. It was her first time living without roommates, and she loved it. The privacy, the quiet, the freedom to come and go as she pleased. Her apartment was on the 2nd floor of an older building. Nothing fancy, but it was affordable and safe. Good locks on the door, nice neighbors, a well-lit parking lot. She never had any problems until November of her junior year. It started small, so small that she almost didn't notice. One morning, she woke up and found a kitchen cabinet open. Not a big deal. She probably forgot to close it. A few days later, she noticed her TV remote was on the kitchen counter. She always left it on the coffee table. Weird, but she'd been stressed with midterms. Maybe she was just being forgetful. Then came the milk. She bought a fresh gallon on a Tuesday. By Thursday, it was almost empty. She lived alone. She barely drank milk, but there it was, nearly gone. Megan started paying closer attention. Little things kept happening. A towel she'd hung up was now on the bathroom floor. Her laptop had been moved from her desk to her bed. Food kept disappearing from her fridge, just small amounts, like someone was being careful not to take too much. She told herself she was imagining things. Stress, sleep deprivation, her brain playing tricks on her. But then she found the fork. It was under her bed. A dirty fork with dried food on it. She hadn't eaten in her bedroom in weeks. And she definitely hadn't eaten under her bed. That night, Megan couldn't sleep. She lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to every creak and groan of the old building. And around 2 a.m., she heard something. A soft thud from above her, from the ceiling. Her apartment was on the 2nd floor. The 3rd floor was just attic space, used for storage by the building's maintenance. No one lived up there. No one was supposed to be up there. She told herself it was probably an animal, a raccoon or a squirrel. Something had gotten into the attic. That was all. The next morning, she mentioned it to her landlord. He said he'd check it out. He never did. A week passed. The noises continued, always at night, always when she was trying to sleep. Soft thuds, creaking. Once, she could have sworn she heard footsteps. Megan started sleeping with a knife under her pillow. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Friday. She'd been out with friends and came home around midnight. She unlocked her door, stepped inside, and immediately froze. Something was wrong. She could feel it before she could see it. The air smelled different. Not bad, just different. Like someone else's shampoo, someone else's soap, She stood in the doorway for a long moment, her keys clutched in her hand, her heart pounding. Slowly, she walked through the apartment. Kitchen, clear. Living room, clear. Bathroom, clear. Bedroom, clear. She was being paranoid. She had to be. She got ready for bed, but she couldn't shake the feeling. That smell. It wasn't hers. It wasn't any product she owned. She didn't sleep that night. She just lay there, listening. And around 3 a.m., she heard it again. That soft thud from above. But this time, it was followed by something else. The creak of the attic access panel in her hallway closet. Megan stopped breathing. She heard the closet door open. Slowly, quietly. Like whoever was opening it was trying not to make noise. She grabbed her phone and the knife and locked herself in the bathroom. She called 911, whispering so quietly the dispatcher could barely hear her. She told them someone was in her apartment. Someone had come down from the attic. The police arrived in 8 minutes, the longest 8 minutes of her life. When they searched the apartment, they found the attic access panel pushed aside. They climbed up into the attic with flashlights. What they found up there made Megan's blood run cold. A makeshift living space, blankets arranged into a bed, empty food wrappers, most of it from her kitchen, water bottles, a flashlight, and photographs. Dozens of photographs, printed on regular paper, like from a home printer. All of them were pictures of Megan, sleeping, watching TV, getting dressed, taken through the attic access panel that opened into her hallway closet. Someone had been living above her for at least a month, coming down at night when she was asleep or away, eating her food, using her shower, watching her. They never caught him. The police dusted for prints, but found nothing usable. No DNA, no identification, just the evidence of someone who had turned her home into his hiding place. Megan moved out that weekend. She didn't even go back for most of her stuff. She stayed with her parents for the rest of the semester and transferred to a different school the following year. She told me that the worst part wasn't the fear. It was realizing that all those nights she thought she was alone. She wasn't. He was right there, above her, listening to her breathe. She sleeps with the lights on now, and she always checks the closets before bed. Every single one. Megan's story is terrifying because she never knew she wasn't alone. The danger was hidden, silent, patient. But the man in our next story knew something was wrong from the very first phone call. He just didn't realize how close the threat really was. This is The Caller. The man who shared this story asked me to call him Daniel. He's 31 years old now, but this happened when he was 26, living alone in a small rental house on the outskirts of a mid-sized city in Texas. It was a quiet neighborhood. Older homes, big yards, not many streetlights. Daniel worked from home as a freelance web developer, which meant he spent a lot of time alone in that house. He didn't mind. He was an introvert by nature. The solitude suited him. This happened on a Thursday night in late October. Daniel was sitting on his couch around 9 p.m., watching TV with the lights dimmed. His phone buzzed with an incoming call. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Hello? Silence on the other end. Not dead silence, but breathing. Someone was there. Hello? Who is this? More silence. Then a voice. Male. Calm. Almost friendly. Nice shirt. Daniel looked down. He was wearing an old college t-shirt, gray with faded lettering. What? Who is this? The line went dead. Daniel sat there for a moment, confused. Nice shirt. What did that mean? Was it a wrong number? Some kind of prank? He shook it off and went back to watching TV. Probably just some kids messing around. It happened. 20 minutes later, his phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. He answered. What do you want? That same voice. Calm. Measured. You should really close your blinds? Daniel's heart stopped. He looked at his living room window. The blinds were open. Beyond the glass was darkness, his front yard, the empty street. He couldn't see anything out there, but someone could see in. He jumped up and pulled the blinds closed, his hands shaking. Who the hell is this? He demanded into the phone. Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. I just like watching. The line went dead. Daniel immediately called 911. He explained the situation, the calls, the fact that someone was apparently watching him through his window. The dispatcher said they'd send a patrol car. While he waited, he grabbed a baseball bat from his closet and checked every lock in the house. Front door, locked. Back door, locked. All the windows, locked. The police arrived about 15 minutes later. 2 officers. They walked around the perimeter of the house with flashlights, checked the yard, the alley behind the property, the neighbor's fence line. They found nothing. No footprints. No signs of anyone. They told Daniel it was probably a prank caller, maybe someone with a burner phone trying to scare people. They said to call back if anything else happened. After they left, Daniel sat in his kitchen with all the lights on, the baseball bat across his lap. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, he felt foolish. It was probably nothing. Someone spoofing numbers and making creepy calls. It happened all the time. He'd read about it online. But that night, around the same time, his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He didn't want to answer, but he needed to know. What do you want? The voice was cheerful this time. You changed your shirt. I liked the gray one better. Daniel felt ice run through his veins. He was wearing a different shirt. He'd changed that afternoon. Whoever this was, they were still watching. Right now. Where are you? Daniel demanded, his voice shaking. Closer than you think. The line went dead. Daniel didn't call the police this time. Instead, he grabbed his bat and went outside. He walked around his entire property, checking behind bushes, looking in the windows of his car, even opening his garage door to make sure no one was hiding inside. Nothing. No one. But he knew they were out there. Somewhere. He went back inside and didn't sleep. He sat in his living room with all the blinds closed, all the lights on, the bat in his hands. The next call came at 11 p.m. You look tired. How can you see me? Daniel shouted. The blinds are closed. A long pause, then a soft laugh. Who said I was outside? Daniel's blood turned to ice. He spun around, looking at every corner of his living room. The kitchen doorway, the hallway leading to the bedroom. Everything was still, empty, but the voice had said, who said I was outside? He searched the entire house, every room, every closet, under the beds, behind the shower curtain. He even went into the attic, his heart pounding, the bat raised over his head. Nothing, no one, but he couldn't shake the feeling. The way the caller said it, the confidence in his voice. Like he knew something Daniel didn't. That's when Daniel noticed his laptop. It was open on his desk, the webcam light glowing a faint green. He hadn't turned it on. Daniel approached the laptop slowly, his stomach churning. The screen was showing his desktop, nothing unusual. But the webcam, the little camera built into the top of the screen, was active. Someone had hacked into his computer. They'd been watching him through his own webcam this whole time. Daniel slammed the laptop shut. He unplugged it. He threw a towel over it for good measure. Then he grabbed his keys and left. He drove to a motel and stayed there for 3 nights. When he finally went back home, he'd hired a cybersecurity expert to sweep his entire system. They found malware buried deep in his laptop, software that gave someone remote access to his camera and microphone. It had been installed weeks earlier, probably through a phishing email he'd clicked without thinking. The calls stopped after that. The number was never traced. The police said there wasn't enough evidence to pursue the case. Daniel got rid of the laptop. He covered every camera in his house with tape. He installed a security system with motion sensors and cameras of his own. He still lives in that house. But he told me something that stuck with me. He said, "I always thought the danger was out there. Someone lurking in the bushes, peering through the window. But it wasn't. It was in my own home, on my own desk, staring at me through a screen I looked at every single day. And I never knew. Now, every time his phone rings from an unknown number, he doesn't answer. He can't." Daniel's stalker watched him through a screen. He was invasive, terrifying, but ultimately kept his distance. The intruder in our final story didn't keep his distance. He didn't call ahead. He didn't play games. He just walked in. And when the woman who lived there woke up, he was standing 3 feet away from her bed. Story number 3, The Visitor. The woman who sent me this story asked to remain completely anonymous. No fake name, no identifying details. She's still afraid that talking about it will somehow bring him back. I'm going to respect that. This happened in 2019 in a small town in the Midwest. She was 32 years old, recently single, living alone in a modest 2-bedroom house she'd bought the year before. It was a safe neighborhood, quiet streets, the kind of place where people didn't lock their doors. She always locked hers. But that night, it didn't matter. It was a Wednesday, late March. She'd gone to bed around 10 p.m. after a long day at work. Nothing unusual. She read for a while, turned off the light, and fell asleep. She woke up at 3:17 a.m. She remembers the exact time because she looked at her phone the moment her eyes opened. Something had woken her. A sound, a feeling. She wasn't sure which. The room was dark, silent. She lay there for a moment, listening, trying to figure out what had pulled her from sleep. And then she saw him, a figure, standing at the foot of her bed, completely still, just standing there. For one horrible second, her brain refused to process what she was seeing. It couldn't be real. She was dreaming. She had to be dreaming. But she wasn't. She could see the outline of him in the darkness. Male, average height, wearing dark clothes. His face was just a shadow, featureless, impossible to make out. He wasn't moving, wasn't speaking, just standing there, watching her. She opened her mouth to scream, but nothing came out. Her throat had closed up. Her body was frozen, locked in place by pure terror. Seconds passed, maybe 5, maybe 30. She couldn't tell. And then he spoke. "Don't scream." His voice was calm, quiet, like he was talking to a child. "I'm not going to hurt you. I just wanted to see you." She found her voice. "Get out. Get out of my house." He didn't move. "I've been watching you for a while," he said. "You're very pretty when you sleep." That broke something inside her. The fear turned to rage. She lunged for her nightstand, grabbing her phone and the small flashlight she kept there. She shined the light directly at him. He raised a hand to shield his eyes. For the first time, she saw his face. Ordinary, unremarkable. Could have been anyone. "Get out," she screamed. "I'm calling the police right now." He didn't run, didn't panic. He just nodded. "Okay," he said. "I'll go. For now." And then he turned and walked out of her bedroom. Calmly, like he had all the time in the world. She heard his footsteps in the hallway, the creak of her back door opening, then silence. She called 911, screaming into the phone, barely coherent. The police arrived within minutes. They found the back door unlocked. She swore she'd locked it. She always locked it. But there it was, the deadbolt turned, the door slightly ajar. They searched the property. They canvassed the neighborhood. They found nothing. But here's what made everything worse. The police asked her to check if anything was missing, any sign of what he might have been doing in the house. She walked through every room, her hands shaking, her heart racing. That's when she found it. In her spare bedroom, the one she used for storage, someone had set up a chair by the window. A chair that didn't belong there. It was positioned to face her bedroom window across the narrow side yard. He'd been sitting there, watching her through the window before he came inside. And on the floor next to the chair, she found a notebook. The police took it as evidence. They showed her some of the pages before sealing it in an evidence bag. It was a journal. Handwritten entries going back months. Detailed descriptions of her daily routines. What time she woke up. What time she came home from work. What she wore. What she ate for dinner. He'd been watching her since January. It was now late March. For 3 months, she'd had no idea. The police investigated. They pulled footage from nearby businesses. They interviewed neighbors. No one had seen anything suspicious. No one remembered a strange car or an unfamiliar face. He was a ghost. They never caught him. She moved out of that house within a week. She stayed with her sister for a month, then relocated to a different state entirely. She changed her phone number. She deleted all her social media. She did everything she could to disappear, but she told me that the fear never went away. She still wakes up at 3 a.m. sometimes, heart pounding, eyes scanning the darkness at the foot of her bed. She still checks every door and window 3 times before she goes to sleep. She still keeps a flashlight and a knife within arm's reach, because she knows the truth. He's still out there. The man who walked into her bedroom and watched her sleep. The man who kept a journal of her life. The man who said, "I'll go, for now." Those 2 words haunt her more than anything else, because for now means he might come back, and next time he might not leave. 3 stories, 3 people, 3 moments when the safety of home became an illusion. Megan, who discovered that someone had been living in her attic, coming down at night to eat her food and watch her sleep. Daniel, who realized that his stalker wasn't hiding in his yard, but watching through his own webcam. And a woman who woke up to find a stranger standing at the foot of her bed. A man who had been studying her life for months. We spend so much time worrying about the dangers outside, strangers on the street, dark alleys, unfamiliar places. But sometimes the most terrifying thing isn't out there. It's already inside. So tonight, before you go to bed, check your locks, check your windows, check your closets, and maybe, just maybe, put a piece of tape over that little camera on your laptop. Because the scariest thing about being home alone isn't the silence. It's not knowing if you're really alone at all. If you have a scary home alone story, email me at the address in the description. I read every single one. Your story could be featured in the next video. Until then, stay safe. Trust your instincts. And if something feels wrong, get out. This has been 3 true home alone horror stories. Sleep tight. And remember, always check behind the door.